We're here at the FT's Women at the Top Summit in London's St Pancras Hotel. I'm here with Nicola Mendelsohn, who is head of Facebook in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. Nicola, you just gave a fantastic talk, for which many thanks. One of the things you said was that Sheryl Sandberg, your boss, I presume, when you see her, every time you see her, she says, "Have you had a hard conversation recently? When was it?" Now, why is that important?
So we have this culture of asking hard questions of one another, and it's a really important part of the culture, because if you're not confronting on almost a daily basis, what are the difficult things, what are the different topics for you and also for a manager, what you're really seeing is that you're not helping people progress. We're not helping the business progress, and we're especially not helping women progress in their careers as well. And the wonderful thing about hard conversations is if you have them regularly, they don't feel like hard conversations anymore. So I definitely encourage people to ask that question of themselves and of others.
Are women worse at having hard conversations than men?
I think probably it is. I haven't got the data to do it, but just if I think about myself, it wasn't something that came easily, and it's definitely a muscle I've learned.
Yeah. You gave some pretty good, interesting numbers about diversity at Facebook itself, and you pointed out there's a lot of work to do there. I mean, you said, I think you've got 67% men overall, but you said in the tech and engineering group, women made up only 17% of that cohort. And at the senior level, there's only 27% women. What is Facebook doing to address its own lack of diversity?
So the first thing we're doing is actually counting the numbers. We're a data company, and if you can't measure things and can't understand where you are, you can't then put plans in place. We're doing a number of things to ensure that we take barriers away for women and also all different areas of diversity to help people promote. So one is having hard conversations, but it's also around things like parental leave. Are we really giving people, the things that they need? And so that's why we introduced a 4-month paternity leave and maternity leave for people at the company, so that we can help people at every part of their life stage. And having children is a very important part.
Yes, and you also talked about a course that you've developed at Facebook that's going to be available more widely on unconscious bias. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, one of the things that we realised is that we all have biases, and actually a lot of them are unconscious. So we looked around to find something that we could get people to really understand, to train, to learn. And we couldn't find it, so we developed our own. And it's been really interesting to see how that's really impacted in small ways and in big ways. And a great example of that was a colleague of mine saw from the video conferencing system that we use that it was actually a male silhouette that would come up when you were making the call. He called it out, we addressed it, and now you have a male and a female silhouette that comes up. So it's just little things like that all the time where we see bias. And yes, it's available for people to take on managing unconscious bias.
And you also have a Women at Facebook thread. How does that, how successful has that been in raising some of these issues about diversity?
So Women at Facebook is much bigger than a group. It's a group where people can come and they can share and they can have hard conversations about things like how they felt about their reviews, the language that was used. But it's also a place where we actually have events, we have conferences, we have lean-in circles where people come together and they talk about and they get out some of the challenges that they're facing. And it's a wonderful thing for people to do. And again, it goes back to hard conversations. If you're doing this, then you're really creating a culture where people feel that they can be the best that they can be, that they can kind of climb any mountain and really start to embrace change.
And you were very optimistic in your speech, and you pointed out how much things were changing. You said you thought the culture was changing, but you also gave some pretty horrific examples of how women continue to be portrayed, both in the media and indeed in general, in pretty shocking manner. There was one from the Olympics and one from about Hillary. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I look back on the summer and it was a wonderful summer of sport and events, but actually it was pretty bad from a bias perspective.
Summer of sexism.
It wasn't it? We had the amazing female Hungarian swimmer winning and crashing the 400 meters swimming title, and then literally the American news broadcaster turned around afterwards and went, "There's the man that made it happen." And we had Andy looking at her husband. There's the man looking at her husband and a coach going, "He's the one that made it happen." Oh. And then we had Andy Murray, who won his second gold in tennis. And again, the news reporter turned around and he said, "How does it feel to be the first person, to win 2 golds?" And he went, "Well, what about Venus and Serena Williams? They've won 4, and they're people too."
Yeah, good for Andy.
Good for Andy, absolutely, for calling that out. And then, we saw with Hillary, when she was the first person to win as a woman, the presidential nominee, to go forward for her party, the next day, The pictures in the press were all of her husband. So I think we need to call out these biases because I think they impact us. I think it impacts us when we don't see role models that we can aspire and look up to and that are treated the same way as men are.